Yo, what is going on guys, Flashverse here and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 7. Now I apologize if I sound like angry or frustrated in any way, you guys will see why in a second, but this is my rant, review and breakdown for The Flash Season 7 Episode 10 titled Family Matters Part 1. And yeah, I have a lot to say about this episode, but that ending as well, we need to talk about that. Now right off the bat guys, because this video may be a bit rantish or negative and I normally don't do that, but I like to express my honest opinion about the episode. I love the show. I love this show so much. It is my second favorite TV show of all time, so I don't mean to hate on it by any way, shape or form, but I waited and yeah, if you guys watched my videos, you guys would know I love the majority of this season. But this episode, I was very disappointed. This was a bad episode. Were there good moments? Sure, there absolutely was. There was quite a few things I liked about today's episode, but I had tons and tons of issues with this episode. I had to watch this episode twice. Once where I just watch it all the way through, and then the second time where I actually take notes and take the screenshots. The first time I was like, okay, this episode wasn't that bad, but then the second viewing, oh god. Honestly guys, the back half of the season should be an Arrow Season 5 level. It should be. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to imagine the amount of people who will stop watching this show by the end of the season. I won't. I will still continue watching the show no matter what. But the back half of the season really needs to deliver an Arrow Season 5. And as I said, I apologize if I'm being a bit negative, or if you guys like that episode, then sure, that's great. But in my opinion, this is far from the Flash I know. Now, this wasn't the worst episode of the season. I still say episode 3 and episode 7 were far worse than this episode, but this episode is definitely down there in like the top 3 worst episodes of this season. And obviously I will go more in detail about what I liked and disliked during this video, but before I go over anything guys, spoiler alert, in case you guys haven't seen the episode, you have been warned because I will be going over some major spoilers which you certainly wouldn't want to hear from me. So if you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode and come back later for this review and breakdown. But for those who are staying, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Now firstly, I expected this episode to be pretty intense judging from where we left off from last episode, but it was not at all. This episode kicks off where we left off from last episode with Dion and the Speed Force confronting each other, and you could tell like Dion is scared and he did seem confused in regards to what is happening, but the Speed Force is essentially trying to get Dion on her side and basically help her with her mission. But right off the bat guys, with my issues, the idea of family with them calling each other sister, brother, mother and father, I hate it. I think it's just such an overdone and cringy thing, and it really bothers me to a point where I just want to switch off my screen. I honestly felt like I was watching an episode of Arrow Season 4 with this poor quality writing. This is definitely not the Flash I know. But we do then cut to Team Flash in the Cortex and they're explaining the whole family thing to Alexa. And yeah, it was very bothering once again when they kept mentioning, oh, you birthed me, so does that mean I'm your daughter, I guess. I just don't like it. But Caitlin reveals how Barry and Iris were able to bring Alexa back to life, and it was something about like some forced DNA, which does make quite a bit of sense since they are all connected to one another. Now Cisco mentions that there are Speed Force isotopic signatures all over Central City, so yeah, the Speed Force is after the other forces, in which Alexa is obviously scared by this, that the Speed Force will come for her, and she's very scared about that, but Barry wants to train her to use the Strength Force so that Nora struggles to go after Alexa and kill her. Now we do then cut to Camilla planning the move between her and Cisco and them leaving Team Flash and them going to do their own thing, so obviously setting up Cisco leaving, and Camilla basically is offered this place in Miami now. So she tells Cisco like, what do you think about Miami? And right off the bat you can tell that Cisco feels like they are rushing things too much and he's hesitant in leaving. Now this happens later on in the episode, but Cisco reveals the vision he had with Psych during episode 5 where it's him at the age of 40 where everyone has moved on and it's just him in Star Labs. So that was obviously more of a setup with Cisco leaving this season, in which episode 12 is his final episode until we see him in the season 7 finale. Now we did have Psych attacking this guy called Caleb, and Psych reveals himself to Caleb because Caleb obviously knew who he was, but we find out that Psych attacks 3 other billionaires during the same night as well. But I have to say, the actor for Psych did do a really fantastic job. I really liked his performance. Now, something I really enjoyed about this episode, once again, is the forensic and investigation stuff between Barry and Iris. I thought it was pretty cool. But Barry is able to notice isotopic signatures, which allows him to realize that Psych was behind all of this, and that these murders seemed personal now that he's gone after these different billionaires. Now, we did have this investigation with Team Citizen investigating Bashir, or Psych's backstory, and later on in the episode we did find out that he was always left out, including the 2 times he was adopted and given a family. So he does have a pretty dark backstory. Now, we did have another interesting storyline this episode, and it was the one with Kristen Kramer's return, and she has arrived to meet with Joe and talk about the different metas disappearing, including CCPD employees as well, such as Patty Spivot and Julian Albert. Basically, we have Kristen Kramer being suspicious about something, and she is trying to get them back after she failed the trial with Frost. Now, we did then have Team Citizen confronting this LaSalle lady, in which we have Psych appearing to go after her for personal reasons. And I just hate how Iris just steps in and tries to get through to him. They literally made Iris more brave than Barry this episode. And don't get me wrong, there is a time when Iris should get into danger. For example, Carver during season 6, that was a perfect example when she went after Black Hole. She was absolutely amazing in that. But there are times when she shouldn't, and this is a time when she shouldn't. This is a freaking meta. So she is definitely in a situation where she just shouldn't be involved. So yeah, this was something which really bothered me as well. But we did then have Barry arriving, and he saves Iris and the Team Citizen, and he confronts Psych. Now, Psych releases these tentacles, which moves as fast as Barry's speed, and he just knocks him out. And once again, this is another issue I have. I'm just sick of them nerfing the main character for the plot. This is 7 seasons in, and he still cannot defeat a villain all by himself. It's getting annoying. Barry literally got absolutely obliterated during that scene. But yeah, we do have Alexa getting trained by Team Flash by trying to get Forza manually in control. But things go wrong, and Forza basically breaks through, and she's able to break through the barrier and attacks Team Flash. And here we go again. When Forza hit Abracadabra, he immediately died. But when it comes to Cisco, yeah, suddenly he becomes Superman all of a sudden. He gets knocked out, but then when he wakes up, he's perfectly fine. So yeah, this was another issue I had with this episode as well. It just doesn't make sense. Like, how is it that when you hit someone in the exact same way you hit Cisco, that one person dies, but then when Cisco gets hit, nothing happens? But yeah, we have Barry wanting to move things quickly due to the Speed Force putting the other forces at risk. And I really liked the talk he and Caitlin had. It was probably one of my favorite moments. I really liked how she compared Dawn's patience in training Barry to Barry's impatience in training Alexa. It was just something I really liked. However, I am not a fan of them making Barry wrong every single time. For some reason this season, Barry is always the one apologizing, and he's always the one who's in the wrong side. And it is quite annoying. But I did really enjoy this talk, so I'm not going to go hard too much on that. Now, we did have Caitlin talking to Forza or Alexa about her experiences with Killer Frost again. And once again, I really like this talk as well. And how it takes time to get used to the alter ego. I really liked it. And she basically gives this device to Alexa, which lets her essentially communicate with the alter ego. But yeah, we did have Barry and Alexa or Forza confronting Psych. And the amount of issues I had with this scene is unbelievable. Firstly, the way Alexa got through to Forza was really rushed, and somehow it just worked first try out of nowhere. I'm not going to criticize the CGI because it's a TV show, it's a low budget TV show, and there's nothing they can really do about it. But honestly, the CGI didn't really bother me as much as it bothered other people. But secondly, when Barry got trapped in Psych's tentacles, he could have easily phased out of that and easily taken down Psych. But yeah, our main character just should have been nerfed, and it's just the tradition this show just follows. And probably the thing I'm most sick about, and it really pisses me off, are the amount of pep talks we are given, especially this season. I don't mind it every once in a while, but almost in every single episode this season, we have a pep talk. They have gone so hard in talking down the villains with the power of love and whatever BS they have. It's just so irritating. We literally didn't get some proper flash action since episode 3. You could argue we got some in episode 5, but really a proper action sequence hasn't been done since episode 3. We've just been getting pep talks ever since. I've had enough of it. It's just so annoying. And by the looks of it, for next episode, it does seem like we will be having some action, which is great, obviously, because we haven't had it in a while. But it seems like Barry will be talking down the villain once again, because after all, the Speed Force is the source of energy which gives Barry his speed, so he can't really like defeat it, if you know what I mean. So I am expecting him to talk her down. But yeah, our main character wasn't able to save the day, but Faweza ends up pinning down Psych, and Barry essentially gives the truth about Bashir's backstory and how he misunderstood everything. And yeah, Psych has now joined Barry's side as well. Now, I really did like the banter between Psych and Alexa. Although they called each other brother and sis, I really liked the banter or beef them two have. But we did have a very shocking reveal which caught me very off guard with Joe leaving CCPD, and that was something very interesting, so I'm very interested to see where that goes. Now, we did have a very cool cliffhanger, and I freaked out when seeing it, but we have Dion and the Speed Force entering Star Labs, and we get Dion freezing time with the Speed Force killing everyone except Barry, which is so shocking. And although I wasn't a fan of this episode, I am really intrigued to see what happens next. If I had to put on my theory cap, I would say like Barry gets the help of Dion or something, because they do also have that force connection, so maybe Dion and Barry are able to revive everybody else. I'm not sure, that's just my theory about it. But overall, yes, this episode did have quite some great moments, but it was a bad episode. I had a lot of issues with it. The writing for this episode was awful. Whoever wrote this episode, I hope they don't do another episode of this show again. But I expected this episode to be so much more better than what we got. I expected this episode to become intense in general, but it just wasn't. But the ending scene was great, I will give it that. The Joe West stuff was great as well, and there were some talks which was great, such as the one between Caitlyn, Barry, and then the one with Caitlyn and Alexa right after that. I thought those were great, but I'm not going to give a ranking for this episode, because the first time I watched this episode I gave it like a 6 out of 10 or something, but then in the second viewing I would give it like a 4 or 5 out of 10. But really I don't know, so I'm not going to give a proper ranking for this video. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below what you guys thought about this episode. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.